What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Father and Son Gaming News Podcast right here on Active Reload Gaming. My name is Kobe, aka Kobe127. That is Kevin, aka Octane699. Welcome, everyone. Happy Friday. We have about 8 news stories to go through today. But first, Dad, how you doing?
Not too bad, actually. Pretty eager to get back to Silent Hill 2 remake after this podcast. I'm hoping to potentially finish that up this weekend.
Yeah, exciting. I've been playing a lot of Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment on the Switch 2. I've been actually putting more time on my Switch 2 than anything else right now, but we did the review. I finished the 18th Attic. You can catch that one. That was from this Monday, so did finish that. There's a whole slew of games coming out and are already out that I'm super interested in. So 2026 is going to be a busy year. I mean, this just came in today, Neo 3 for Souls-like fans. Neo 3 came in today, so I'm definitely eager to check that out, but February is not going to let up. There's a lot of games coming. Romeo is a Dead Man is next week, along with, Resident Evil on the horizon and so on. So it's going to be a very busy February.
I want to give some news that starting in February, at the end of February, we are going to on our normal podcast Mondays, we're going to add a feature that at the end of every month, talking about releases of what's coming out the following month, because it's getting harder and harder for me to find a comprehensive list somewhere that shows, hey, here's what's coming out in March. So as we get closer to the end of February on our Monday, we will have one of those features where we're actually going to get that list for you. So I think that's going to be a pretty cool feature.
Yeah, a lot of indie games coming out too next week as well. Even from the developer of Binding of Isaac, his new game Eugenics is coming out, and it sits at a 90 on Metacritic now as reviews came out all today. So a lot of stuff coming out. The other exciting thing is I'm going to show you here. So on Wednesday evening, I went on down to downtown Seattle and hit up the Paramount Theater. I had bought tickets for this concert a while ago, but I went to the Death Stranding Worlds of Harmony world tour. And it was a music performance of a whole bunch of different Death Stranding songs. With vocals, without vocals. So they did score, they did music from Woodkid, music from Low Roar, and my God, what a incredible concert. I was really impressed with it. The production value of it was great. Seeing some of the best scenes from the game being played on the screen as the orchestra is performing the music for you. They had live singers, really good stuff. And the thing here that I was showing is I bought a little music box. Funny enough, they were selling these music boxes, and for those who have played Death Stranding, this is a music box of BB's theme. So I'm gonna turn off a whole bunch of voice modifiers for a second. I want to play this for you, just because I think music boxes are cool, and it being a Death Stranding music box is really cool. So give me 2 seconds. So I just think it's really cool. And just seeing how popular games are, like you're seeing, like it was just crazy, like a real surreal experience to see one of my favorite games being just played downtown Seattle and seeing so many people with so many different cosplayers dressing up as some of the characters from the game. Really cool experience. So, but with all that being said, we are the Father and Son Gaming News Podcast, the bi-weekly podcast at the moment, going over the week's news that we think you should know about. What a crazy 2 weeks this is. It was hard to sort through everything. But before we move into the 8 articles that we have for you today, I would like to remind each and every one of you can follow us on all of our socials right here on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Blue Sky. We are at Active Reload Gaming. Twitch or Twitter/X, we are at Active Rel Gaming. That is with an REL, Active Rel Gaming. I don't think I said Spotify, but Spotify is also Active Reload Gaming as well. There's so many different accounts. It's kind of hard to keep up with where we are at. Today we're going to be going over a slew of different things. As the title, the AI Ramageddon is here as the Steam Machine is officially delayed. Nvidia is pausing GPUs. We're also going to be talking about how Baldur's Gate 3 is getting a live action adaptation, onto that GTA 6 is fully confirmed, and also the Mind's Eye studio, Build a Rocket Boy, swears that a studio was sabotaging them. So we got that. Then for the Overwatch people out there, a new update came out. Sony has some weird patents going on with AI and controllers. So let's get into it. So, as the title, the AI Ramageddon, Steam Machine is delayed and Nvidia is pausing stuff. I got two articles here for you. I'm going to read both of them to start because these are pretty much hand in hand with what is happening in the industry and so on. So first is from The Verge, and this is written by Jay Peters and Sean Hollister. Valve's Steam Machine has been delayed and the RAM crisis will impact pricing. Shocker. It's almost like we talked about this many of times before. When Valve first announced its impressive-looking Steam Machine, Steam Frame, and Steam Controller hardware in November, the company said the products would begin shipping in early 2026. Some journalists were told Q1 specifically, but because of the ongoing memory and storage crunch, that launch has been delayed to sometime in the first half of this year, and Valve says it will reset expectations for how much they will cost as soon as possible. We planned on being able to share specific pricing and launch dates by now, Valve says in a new post, but the memory and storage shortages you've likely heard about across the industry have rapidly increased since then. Limited availability and growing prices of these critical components mean we must revisit our exact shipping schedule and pricing. Valve says that its goal of shipping all three products in the first half of the year has not changed, but we have work to do to land on concrete pricing and launch dates that we can confidently announce, being mindful of how quickly the circumstances around both of those things can change. When The Verge and other outlets met with Valve to preview the new hardware, the company remained mostly vague about pricing at the time. One of the most important questions being if these devices would compete with game consoles rather than PCs. From the beginning, Valve told us the Steam Machine, its ambitious new console, would be positioned closer to the entry level of the PC space. For the Frame, the company said it was aiming for a price that was less than its previous headset, the Index, which cost $999. And for the Steam Controller, Valve said it was targeting a price that would be competitive with other controllers with quote-unquote advanced inputs. But within days of Valve's hardware announcement last November, it became clear that Valve would have a tough time offering competitive pricing with the cost of RAM shooting up. It told Tom's Hardware that the console was tough to price because the market is kind of weird, and memory prices are going up like right as we speak. As of early 2026, PC gamers have seen the price of RAM triple, even quadruple, as memory makers pour their supply into the more profitable AI server realm. So let's head on over to story number 2 that ties in with the Steam Machine being delayed, which is this is written from Tom's Guide and is written by Tony Polanco. Nvidia won't release new gaming GPU for first year in 3 decades due to RAM shortage, and it's also slashing the RTX 50 production series. For the first time in 3 decades, Nvidia is reportedly taking a year off from the gaming GPU market. According to a new report from The Information, Team Green has scrapped its plans for any new graphics card releases in 2026. The reason, as you might have guessed, the ongoing global memory shortage, or what we at Tom's Guide referred to as Ramageddon, has become so severe that Nvidia is being forced to choose between gamers and feeding the AI beast. Unfortunately, AI is winning, and here's everything you need to know. Nvidia has released at least one new gaming GPU every single year since the early 90s. Even during the height of the crypto mining craze and the pandemic supply chain collapse, the company managed to get something on the store shelves. But this year is different. Ramageddon has hit a point where AI data centers are simply gobbling up the new RAM materials from memory. According to the information sources, Nvidia has indefinitely delayed Kicker, the code name for the incremental RTX 50 series refresh, likely the supercars that you've seen with previous generations. Even though the designs were reportedly finished, the company decided that it couldn't justify the memory costs. It's not just about the lack of new cards either. The report also states that Nvidia is slashing production of its current RTX 50 series GPUs. With memory supply this tight, Nvidia seems to be prioritizing its limited stock for AI chips. This is obviously bad news for gamers. Don't expect the RTX 60 series anytime soon. If you were hoping to skip this generation and wait for the RTX 60 series, you're likely going to be waiting even longer than you expected. The delay in the 2026 refresh has reportedly pushed mass production of the next generation Rubin gaming GPU to the end of 2027. If that's the case, then we are looking at a nearly 3-year gap between major GPU generations. On a related note, since we're discussing delays, Moore's Law is Dead reports that NVIDIA's N1X CPUs are experiencing bugs and software issues, delaying when we'll see ARM-based Windows laptops. Apparently, neither Microsoft nor NVIDIA is rushing to ensure the system on chips are fully supported on Windows. So, those are the kind of 2 articles wrapping this whole, as they so elegantly put it, and what I put into the title, because I really like the thing, the Ramageddon. Let's start with the Steam machine.
I would like to just ask a question there, because what I heard with Nvidia, so it sounds like they scrapped the idea to come out with the 3000 series, 3060, 3070, whatever it was back with the DDR4. So now they're not making that at all.
So it seems like they are still going along the way of using old DDR4, because I'm reading right here. They look like they're trying to build around a DDR4 platform to save cash right now, but it seems like all their plans are up in the air. This whole AI data center, and I think it's funny that in the article it states that Nvidia is like so like choosing AI. It's like they're also kind of pioneering this whole AI thing as well. So it's like they're doing it. But yeah, I think that the 30 series coming back is still planned. Let me check that.
When you make a statement that they're not going to release any cards,
any new cards,
well, don't you think that would constitute a new card?
No, because when you're releasing the 3060, that's just old components, old hardware laying around. That is not a new generational card, or like that's like you saying like a comparison is, if I don't even know what iPhone they're on anymore, but let's just say that the newest iPhone didn't come out and they brought back the iPhone 10. That's not a new iPhone. That's just recycling old hardware.
Okay. I'll buy into that. But I just wonder if they're still on track to bring out the 3000. And I don't remember what they said. It was 60, 3060 or 3070 with the DDR4.
Yeah, reports suggest that NVIDIA is still planning on bringing the RTX 3060 back in Q1 2026, despite previous plans to discontinue it. So either ways, I want to kind of go back and start with the Steam machine. We kind of talked about this in a previous episode relating around AI. I do encourage people to go check out that AI episode where we break down just AI in general and have a nuanced conversation about it. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't surprise me in the slightest that we're seeing major manufacturers and hardware being delayed at this point. Like, I think the writing was on the wall. Now, whether or not this is going to put the writing on the wall for, say, PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo with whatever they might be doing, I think that's another conversation. But how are you feeling that the Steam machine is being now delayed out of the Q1 into the first half of 2026? And I guess, are you scared for the price at this point? Because we've seen the RAM prices and what they're currently putting at. And do you think this is going to severely hurt the Steam machine?
See, again, it's easy to say, yes, it's going to hurt the Steam machine, but it depends on what the model is that they're going to use. Are they going to subsidize some of it? Because again, the history of consoles has always been sold at a loss for the hardware and made up on the software.
Mm-hmm.
So, if they want to make, and this relates to anybody, you can put in Steam, you can put in Xbox, you can put in PlayStation, you can put in, Nintendo. If they want to release this and they want to subsidize $100 off of the price because of the increase of RAM, making the assumption that somebody that buys that is going to buy at minimum $100 worth of games, they can subsidize it. That's how all consoles, excluding, I think this was the first time ever that PlayStation put theirs out. I take that back so people don't roast me. I know that Nintendo always makes a profit on their hardware. And up until this generation, I think when they came out with the PlayStation Pro, that's why you didn't see a reduction in the first generation of the PlayStation 5, because they didn't reduce the price. It's the first time in history that didn't happen because they were making money on the hardware. So I just think that it could hurt it if they stick to their guns and say, hey, we have to make profit off of our hardware. It could hurt them. But the reality is the way that the world is in the gaming industry has never been seen before,
Yeah.
and it's never it never had the opportunity to be planned or forecasted for. So they have to move with this.
Yeah.
They have to move. So I think if they subsidize some of it to keep the costs down, I don't think it's going to be a hiccup.
Yeah. In the chat, Cherry Tomato Boys says, my coworkers got melted to fund making data centers. Now I can't even buy a Steam machine. I mean, it's unfortunate, like, that this is the state of the industry that we are in, that people are getting absolutely melted to fund these data centers. And it is like, this is just such a multi-pillar problem that I realistically don't know what the answer is to it at this point. And Bombay says all 20-plus-year-old Steam accounts should get 150% off. I think the only reason why Bombay is saying that is because I think that their account is 20-plus years old. But and the one thing I want to say is, with that, like, we're seeing this weird whole launch lineup situation with how the Steam machine's going to launch. Like, if we go back 6 years now to when the new consoles released during the pandemic, like, we still had those shortages in terms of supply chain, but like, we were able to muster through it. Like, I think this just shows, in the grand scheme of things, how impactful this AI data centers really are. Because when you go back to the global manufacturing and supply chain of the pandemic, that was really tight. Many PS5s, Xboxes were not able to get made. Even was it the 30 series at that point, I think, or the 40, one of the two that was coming out, like, they were still able to get through, like the article says. But this just shows how impactful it's going to be. And if these companies don't already have RAM stocked up, they're in a serious situation.
But even when you take RAM stock up, because I read that, a month, 2 months ago, that Sony apparently stockpiled some RAM, but that's limited. It's still going to run out at some point. But I do want to just address Bombay. I had brought this up at Xbox one time, and I had said this to Kobe numerous times. I think that's a way to get around scalpers, is like, for Xbox, maybe take a look at your gamer score, or look at how long you've had Xbox, the Game Pass or whatever, and offer it to those people first, even if it's not a discount. If you have a 20-plus-year-old Steam account, offer it to those people to pre-order it first, or things of that nature, because that helps stop scalpers, or at least 50% of those people, if they go scalp it because they got it early, at least the other 50%, you're giving it to the people that are truly gamers of your platform. Because that's the most frustrating thing to me. Anything from video game consoles down to, I was just trying to get some Nikes that I wanted that dropped on Thursday, and I couldn't get them because they all went to scalpers, and now they're, from $95, now they're $260 to get them scalped. I just think we need a way around the scalping, and I do think that that's one of them that you can go to.
At this, I don't want to talk about pricing, though. At this rate, what do you think the Steam machine's even going to be priced at? Like, I don't think this is. I don't think this is going to be sub 1,000 at this rate. Given the verbiage that is being used from Valve, I do not see, without the controller bundle, I do not see this thing being under $1,000 at this rate.
Well, I said that, this and, the Xbox being the next one that'll probably come out. I don't think you're going to see either one of those. And I'm only comparing those two because they're computer-esque. I don't think you're going to see them, $1,200-ish, $1,500 in between there somewhere.
Yeah.
$1,100 to $1,500. Let's just be safe.
Yeah.
I think that's what you're going to look at.
Yeah, and Bombay says 100% there will be a comma in the price. Yeah, I think we're going to see that. Now, do you think this signals what's to come for other manufacturers in the console space?
It has to. How can you say not? The only thing that you have is, if the rumor's true that PlayStation has postponed their launch of it, RAM prices could come down by then. But people got to realize they don't start manufacturing them this month and sell them next month.
Yeah.
Like they're manufacturing a year out or at least 8 months out to get that kind of, like when you looked at Nintendo dropping, what did they have, 2 million consoles on day one or something like that?
Yeah.
They couldn't start making them 2 weeks before. So again, you got to realize if you're dropping in 2028, they got to be manufacturing these in 2027 at some point. So, or at least have the parts purchased of some sort. So
Yeah.
it could affect the future.
Yeah, because then I want to bring in this whole Nvidia conversation with them putting a pause on GPUs. At this rate, I think it's a safe thing to say that gamers should become really comfortable with their current hardware.
Yes.
I think we all need to be comfortable with what we have and realize that I think coming into the future, from a monetary standpoint and just also a production standpoint, we will not be seeing upgrades for quite a while like we used to.
Here's a question back to you.
Mm-hmm.
That statement that you just made is 100% true, and I've heard it from numerous sources. With that said, do developers still try to push graphics and performance and everything else?
So the thing I will say about that, yes, because the way consoles, so essentially when it comes to development, if you are developing for a console, you are making the game for those SKUs, they have that. And this was such a weird generation of games because I cannot tell you the last time besides this generation where I saw so many cross-gen releases this late into the cycle. We still see some cross-gen releases. And I think, with games like Crimson Desert coming out and the new Forza Horizon, like, you got to remember, I'll use Xbox as the example. Forza Horizon 6 is the first pure next gen, in quotes, but like this gen's console only release. Forza Horizon 5 was a cross-gen release. Call of Duty, it was cross-gen it still is cross-gen. Like, so my statement being is, I don't think developers have squeezed the full power out of these consoles just yet. I still think there's a lot more room to wiggle through in order to squeeze more out because it is statistically and proven through that the later in the generation, the better the games look because the developers realize how to use that hardware. Like if you look at the PS4 era, for example, like Uncharted 4 being at the tail end of that console, that game stacks up to many games of today in terms of graphical fidelity. Like it is a beautiful, even Last of Us Part 2 is a beautiful looking game and still looks as good as any 2026 release. And that was a 2020 release. And that was at the very end of its cycle. So I still think we have a couple of years of squeezing out more juice from the current hardware. So yeah, Bombay says, I had to think for a minute if the Xbox Series X was current gen or not with how long it's been out. Yeah, it is crazy that the PS5 and Series X/S has been out. This is going to be its 6th year being out now because it was a pandemic release.
But then I just read, and again, don't hold me to the facts, but then I just read where the PS5 just recently started to outperform how many people were playing it versus the PS4.
Probably, I think so, because it took a while for people to make the switch. Because when you really look at the grand scheme of things, I'm going to use casual gamers as an example, and I'll use Fortnite. Like, if you are a casual gamer and you have a PS4 that runs Fortnite perfectly fine, there is really no incentive for you to jump to the PS5 if you're only going to be a Fortnite person. Like, obviously, those are certain cases, and like a lot of the free-to-play games are cross-gen, so I think it does come, person to person, but I do think you're starting to finally see so many people make that switch as the cross-gen releases are slowing down. Like, even example on the PS5, like God of War Ragnarok was on PS4, and so was Horizon Forbidden West. Like, their tentpole titles were cross-gen releases, so there wasn't that inherent incentive for you to jump over. And now I think there is, and you're starting to get, just primarily PS5 releases. But yeah, I still think there's still quite a bit of power to pull from these consoles, and I think we're going to see what games can possibly do with the current hardware that we have. But I do think we're going to be in this current hardware cycle for a little bit longer than we had anticipated. I think this will probably end up being the longest generation that we will have.
You think you don't think that Xbox, as I just read, I always hate talking Xbox stuff, but I just read that they said they're keeping to their 2027 launch.
I mean, obviously, I work for Xbox, but none of my opinions match the company or whatever. This is not insider info. However, I'm not going to say like yay or nay because the market is volatile at this point in terms of supply chain. We don't know what next month is going to bring. We don't know if this bubble's going to pop and they're going to sell off all their like extra stock. Like there's just so many unknowns that I can't confidently, like, if you really think about it, technically the next gen has already started because of Switch 2. Like, it's like, where do you put the line in for next gen? And, so that's the things to think about. But, at earliest we can see 2027, but we'll see. And that's with PS6 and the new Xbox. Like, that has been the rumored targets for both of them. But yeah, I don't know. I just think, especially if the Steam machine's being delayed, I think we're going to see more manufacturers taking this into account because
but I think I just read where AMD came out and said that nope, the Xbox is full-fledged for 2027.
I mean, I hope that to be true. I think I saw something similar, but we shall see. Cherry Tomato Boy says, I feel like PS5 really hasn't even found its stride. Maybe once the Naughty Dog game comes out, it'll feel different. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot you can dissect from this generation of games. Like, this was, I think, the weirdest generation that we've ever had. Like, because I think PS4 had hit such a stride that it was such a monumental console because of its titles. And then going back to the 360 PS3 era is allowed to be the golden generation of gaming. And then like the PS2 generation, like, was just such an influx of games of all different sorts. Like, this one has just felt so strange. But I think that can be another conversation for another time of dissecting the generations and what they really are.
Without going hardcore through it, I think the PS5 only had 3 exclusive titles to the PS5. There wasn't a lot
with like just like not cross-gen, just like correct. PS5.
Like Spider-Man was one. I think there was only 3 of them.
Let me take a look here.
That's the true telling story.
There's Astrobot, Death Stranding 2, Ghost of Yotei, Demon Souls,
Spider-Man,
Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth, then Final Fantasy 16, Spider-Man 2. Silent Hill 2, Ratchet and Clank, Return. Yeah, there's a lot here.
Yeah, but you're talking about remakes. It's not like I couldn't go play Silent Hill 2 on another generation console.
Yeah, okay. So like in terms of like newer titles,
that's what I'm talking about.
Of like Sony published, it would be Returnal, Ratchet and Clank, Ripped Apart, Spider-Man 2, Death Stranding 2, Ghost of Yotei, Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth, 16.
So under 10.
Yeah, I mean, there's more coming out. I think we're starting to hit the stride because we still have like Wolverine coming in, Sorrows, a whole bunch of stuff.
I'm talking about up till now.
Right, yeah. I mean, if we're looking at PS4, PS5, yes, the PS5 has had a lower amount of PS5 only exclusives, not cross-gen. So yeah, but either way, it's only going to get more rough from here. So I really have no much more to say on the topic. It's just, hey, we're here. But story number 3.
And let me just make my statement here because I like making my predictions. I don't think that we're at the bottom of the Ramageddon yet.
Oh no, we're going to keep plummeting.
Correct. It's not the bottom. That's for sure. We are just at the beginning of this.
If I had to give my dystopian prediction of the world, I think in terms of gaming, the bottom is going to be when consumers can no longer have their own native hardware and everything is funneled into cloud gaming. I think that's my dystopian prediction because you have a whole bunch of companies doing cloud gaming use. So
the thing I'll just mention about that is they're not even close to perfecting cloud gaming yet. So that's a while off.
The Nvidia cloud solution is really good.
It's good.
It is really good. So, because they have that stuff running on a 5080 in the cloud, so that one is really, really good. So they're making bigger strides than I had anticipated. But story number 3, this comes from Deadline by Nelly Andreeva. Baldur's Gate TV series continuing the video game story and works at HBO from The Last of Us co-creator Craig Mazin and Hasbro Entertainment. Craig Mazin, co-creator of arguably the most acclaimed TV adaptation of video game to date, HBO's The Last of Us, will be taking on another hugely popular and acclaimed game title next. Larian Studios' Baldur's Gate 3, which is set in the world of Dungeons and Dragons. HBO is developing Baldur's Gate, a drama series based on the Wizards of the Coast video game franchise, with Mazin attached to create, write, executive produce, and showrun the TV adaptation. Unlike HBO's The Last of Us, which retold the story from the PlayStation games, Baldur's Gate TV series will be a continuation of to the games, telling a story that takes place immediately after the events of Baldur's Gate 3, as the characters old and new are dealing with the ramifications of the events in the third game. Like with The Last of Us, Mazin's passion for Baldur's Gate 3 and its characters and story led to his desire to adapt it as a TV series. He has proudly completed the Sven Vickel developed game on the challenging honor mode, and he is also a longtime D&D fan, a DM who has been playing the game weekly for the past 15 years, including tonight. It is also stated that he did reach out to Sven, the CEO of Larian Studios, and Sven and him had been in conversations about Baldur's Gate 3 and how to continue it, but Larian is not directly involved in the making of this show. So there's two ways of looking about this. Do you want which way do you want to go? We can be excited, or I can give my fanboy.
Let me give what we talk about all the time. And we've talked about, Kobe and I have talked about this for a couple years, that any video game adaptation should never be a one-to-one to the game. The reason why Fallout is outstanding, in my opinion, is because they base it in the world of Fallout, but it's nothing of the video games. They create their own story. Kobe and I were just talking about what's the series that we just talked about? The part 1 and part 2. HBO.
Last of Us.
Last of Us, thank you. Oh my goodness, it's senility coming in. The Last of Us, The Last of Us part 1 was outstanding because they kind of did it, to the game. But once they went off script, that's where it kind of goes off. Like, to me, if they're going to do any adaptation, take that and, make something within the world. And I think that's what gained better traction. So that's what you and I have been always talking about. So now you could give your.
Yeah. So here's the thing with the Baldur's Gate TV show. Let me start with this. I think, once again, it is cool that video games are gaining such major acclaim that these huge production companies want to bring them to live action or whatever format. I think it is cool, and there is stuff to be excited about because I think fantasy is so rich that you can really make so much content from the fantasy genre. And I think there is a lot to play with. Now, let me just get into my personal feelings about Baldur's Gate being continued. So first off, I do want to say that last year or whatever, I forget when the news broke, but there was at one point when Hasbro asked Larian Studios to make an expansion for Baldur's Gate 3, and they said no. And I think it's funny that this is Hasbro's response to Larian Studios saying no to a DLC for Baldur's Gate 3. They're just going to make it into a television show. Here's the thing that I think gets into the tricky area when making a show like this, especially wanting to continue the characters. Baldur's Gate 3 is so reliant on the player building a main protagonist that is making choices throughout the game and making the story their own. When you say you are going to be continuing the characters and the story, you are inherently going to be overriding decisions that the players have made, and you are going to be choosing a canon ending. I think this completely defeats the purpose of what Baldur's Gate 3 inherently is. It is a game about choice. It is you adventuring with these players or these characters, and it is you making a story, because that is what D&D is. You are making a story with the people around you. So I think this is just going to completely invalidate everything that has come before for the player. And I think it's going to end up muddying the waters for people because this is not going to be the story that they had envisioned for their person. On top of that, Baldur's Gate fans are passionate. They are very attached to the voice actors and the characters and how they look. And I think when you start doing this casting and you're going to start messing with everything, I've already seen jokes online that Chris Pratt's going to be Astarion. Like, like there's stuff like that where it's like, you're just going to, I think, mess with a lot of the vision that people have had for Baldur's Gate 3 and what the artist originally intended. Now, here's my statement. D&D is a world that is so rich in lore that I realistically don't think you need to continue the story of Baldur's Gate, the game, because Baldur's Gate is a massive city within the lore of Dungeons and Dragons, and you can legitimately make any character and do another story within Baldur's Gate, the city. You can keep the same name because it's the D&D property. It's a city in D&D. Like, you don't need to continue the story of these characters. And I think you can get the same effect where you're going to have this big production fantasy show for you that is going to bring in lots of money for you because there's a lot of passionate, just D&D people out there that's not even attached to Baldur's Gate 3. So I think that's where it's going to get very tricky for not only the audience to really buy into this, but also for the writers. How do you go forward with all these characters and the choices that players specifically made for these characters and for themselves as they got to the ending of the game and had their ending? Because there's so many permutations to the ending of Baldur's Gate 3, and you picking one and making that the canon to continue forward is going to be really, really messy for a lot of people. And I don't see many people being excited about this. That being said, I think getting any new fantasy show is exciting. And I honestly, not going to be a pessimist. I hope for the best with this, but I can't personally say I'm overly ecstatic for this. I would have rather another fresh story within the D&D world, kind of like the Chris Pine movie, Honor Among Thieves. Like, just do something new instead of continuing with what we already love. Like, we can love new characters in this world. You can definitely, I think a way of doing this is you can definitely mention the characters and events of the game with new people, but you don't have to directly continue it. I think that is like an easy middle ground if you truly wanted to have some callbacks to this, but that's just me.
Nope, I agree 100% with everything you said. When it's something with so many different choices, it's just impossible to pick that and run it through.
Yeah. So, I mean, I truly don't have much more to say on this. We'll see what happens. And I know with Craig Mazin being the showrunner, I think that also brings a lot of drama at the moment because a lot of people were not happy about Last of Us Season 2. Last of Us Season 1 was great. They adapted the game pretty well, but Season 2 is very messy for a lot of people. So he has a very big uphill battle to take on.
See, now that's only for the fans of the show because, my wife, Kobe's mother, she watched that with us and loved it because she never played the game. Yeah. So if you're going into it not knowing anything about the story, it's an outstanding show. But when you're a fan and they take liberties, it's not. I always go back to the Halo series. Like, Master Chief has taken off his helmet. He's at strip clubs. Like, come on. Like, that just ruined everything for me. Now, if you're not a fan of Halo and you watch the series, you may not care. But you can't take liberties
and that's the other thing that I want to bring up is, like, if it is continuing the story with these old and new characters, as it states, like, unless you're a fan of Baldur's Gate 3, I don't know how this show is going to pull in more people of already continuing a story that has been finished through a 150-hour video game. Like, it's the fantasy genre is definitely going to pull in like some of the Game of Thrones audience because it's fantasy on HBO. Like, but if someone who has never played Baldur's Gate 3 comes into a show that is expecting you to know the full story of Baldur's Gate 3, I really don't know how that's going to work from a writing perspective or like bringing in a new audience. Like, how is that going to work? Cherry Tomato Boy says Craig Mazin has a bubble shield since he made Chernobyl. I'll give him one flub. I mean, Chernobyl was a great show. Chernobyl was outstanding. So,
yes, it was.
And Last of Us Season 1 was good, but Last of Us Season 2, much like the game, people debate heavily. But I really don't have much more to say on the Baldur's Gate 3 show at the moment. So we will go on with story number 4. Take-Two Interactive reaffirms GTA 6 will launch November 19th, 2026. This is by Tom Henderson from Insider Gaming. Take-Two Interactive has reaffirmed that GTA 6 is still scheduled to release on November 19, 2026. The update came as part of Take-Two's interactive quarterly earnings call, where CEO Strauss Zelnick said, with ongoing momentum across many of our businesses and the highly anticipated launch of GTA 6 on November 19th, we continue to project record levels of net bookings in fiscal 2027, which we believe will establish a new financial baseline for our business, set us on a path to enhance profitability, and provide further balance sheet strength and flexibility. It's said that marketing for the game will also begin this summer, so eagerly awaiting fans will have to wait a little longer before they can see more of the game. It is also confirmed that GTA 6 will have a physical release, because there was a rumor that they were going to do a digital only first and delay the physical because of leaks. But it is confirmed that there will be a day-and-day physical and digital release. So GTA 6 coming November 19th, 2026, with marketing beginning in the summer.
That was the big rumor, that it wasn't going to be physical, and they overcame that. So now I wonder if it's going to be $100, as the rumors always were, or is it going to be $70?
I think my prediction in terms of the price, there's so many things out there, whether or not what it's going to be costing. I still think what they're going to do is a $70 base game if you only want the single player, with a $30 add-on to be the multiplayer. I think they're going to charge for online. I think maybe we can see, but I think that's how you get the $100 package. If they want to charge that much, is block off single player to the $70, have an additional $30 for multiplayer.
Here's, and I would agree with that statement, but here's kind of a statement question, because I don't know. I mean, I know GTA 5 is always one of the top 5 streamed PC online. I wonder how much online is still going on with consoles.
Oh, I think because when they do the sales, like even like on PlayStation, like the quarterly, like the monthly sales, like PlayStation GTA is still going crazy. It's a money making machine. So,
but that's where I'm kind of circling around to your model, where I would agree, as long as the online is still going very well on the consoles. If the online wasn't going well, because I know on Steam it's always selling. Like I said, I still, and I'm one of those fanboys. I'll still go to Twitch and watch streaming. I think on Twitch it's still one of the top 3 streamed video games.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the only thing I would look at is, if the online is still going strong on consoles, then I can see that model coming through.
Bombay says GTA RP goes hard. Yeah, I see a lot of people RPing in GTA. It seems fun. I think the only other thing I wanted to point out with this whole article is I think it is, the summer marketing. I think that is interesting. Now, I want you to put up your binoculars and look all the way to Los Angeles from the East Coast. Do you think Jeff Keighley is out there on his dock right now with a fishing reel trying to catch Rockstar to put it in Summer Game Fest?
Hands down. I mean, he'd be crazy not to. Crazy not to.
I know he's probably trying. I don't think Rockstar is going to bite, because Rockstar moves to the beat of their own drum. Like they don't. The thing is, Jeff Keighley needs Rockstar. Rockstar doesn't need Jeff Keighley. Like if Jeff Keighley was able to get GTA on the Summer Game Fest floor stage in whatever capacity, I think that moves Summer Game Fest from here all the way up to here. It makes it a whole new beast. But Rockstar doesn't need Jeff Keighley for a marketing push. They can put up on a random Thursday afternoon at 2:55 p.m. a trailer, and everyone's going to eat it up.
But see, I can see Keighley paying them to be on, not the other way around.
And the other thing, we talked about it before, but as Jeff Keighley is watching with his binoculars all the way out at GTA 6, do you think he bends the rules for the Game Awards this year and extends the cutoff for nominations, because the cutoff is a week before the GTA 6 release?
Yes, because again, it's GTA 6. You're going to see, we talk about our thumbnail and stuff. Like that's going to be the biggest, meme thumbnail. Anybody saying GTA 6. So yes, because I think that's going to bring more viewership, more attention to a Summer Game Fest, or to the Game Awards. So yes, you're going to see more thumbnail meme GTA 6. Yeah.
And the other thing I'll say is, I think in terms of the marketing beats, I'm not a marketing person, but I think this is what's going to happen. I think they're going to follow the Red Dead 2 line. Like, I think the next trailer that they release is still going to be a tone setting trailer, because Red Dead 2 did 3 tone setting trailers before they even released the gameplay trailer. And like, if you go back to GTA 5, like the official gameplay in the world of Grand Theft Auto trailer didn't even come out until like a month before the release. So I think they're going to stretch out these trailers as little as they can. Like, I don't think we're going to see what the gameplay of GTA 6 looks like until maybe 2 months away from that release.
But that's where I can see at Summer Game Fest them dropping one of those trailers.
Yeah, maybe
gameplay.
A tone setting trailer, maybe like a minute saying, hey, whatever. Or, but you know, because summer is such a big time frame, another place I think that they can put it, because like, I think when it comes to Grand Theft Auto, like every gamer under the sun knows what Grand Theft Auto is. But you got to follow my logic here. I think they want to try to bring in other people. I could see them doing a brand new trailer during the releasing in the World Cup timeline. Like, and like, because everyone's gonna have like eyes on the World Cup. Like, it has like Super Bowl levels. It's in Seattle this year, so like I think they can.
It's in every city.
Yeah.
It's in Philadelphia. It's in LA. It's in Seattle.
Yeah. But I could see them trying to capitalize on the huge sporting event this year as well, and getting marketing out there. But I'm not a marketing person. I could just be talking out the wazoo. So
yeah, it's gonna be interesting. But everybody's going to be covering GTA 6.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be the most talked about game for 8 months. But
correct.
Before we move on to the second half, I would like to take a quick word from our website, activereloadgaming.com.
Got games you don't play anymore? Turn that collection into cash at activereloadgaming.com. It's fast, it's easy, and you get paid quick. Or if you are looking to buy, check us out on eBay or scroll through our games by console. Find us at Active Reload Game.
And we are back. .com. It just cuts off com. In case if someone didn't know, .com. This is such a ridiculous article I'm going to read. I can't even believe that I'm going to be reading this. This comes from Tom Henderson in Insider Gaming. Mind's Eye co-CEO alleges $1 million was spent in sabotaging the game and will pursue legal action. Mind's Eye co-CEO Mark Gerhardt has alleged in an internal meeting with Build a Rocket Boy employees that they have caught the guys who sabotaged Mind's Eye in an alleged $1 million plus campaign. In the meeting, which took place in late January and was sent to Insider Gaming on the condition that the video not be made public, Gerhardt opened the call by saying they caught the guys who've been sabotaging Mind's Eye. Oh, yeah. He alleged that the company behind the campaign was a very big American company, but that's probably not the company you're thinking of. Gerhardt alleged that the smear campaign had a budget of over 1 million euros spent in 2025, and the big American company allegedly paid the UK-based company Ritual Network, who he claims are a bunch of gangsters, to carry out the sabotages. According to Gerhardt, the company has been paying several influencers, including Cyberboy, an influencer Gerhardt recently threatened with a cease and desist via Discord, 3 journalists and Build a Rocket Boy employees to harm Mind's Eye and Build a Rocket Boy's reputation. In the meeting, Gerhardt alleges that all these individuals will be served in person in criminal complaints shortly, and that the criminal charges are for espionage, sabotage, and criminal interference. Everyone who's involved has real problems, including the company behind it, and this is the start of our comeback, he said.
I think it's called, one word, delusional. Like, I just think, like, you are so delusional that you think somebody spent over $1 million to sabotage your game.
Yeah. I'm just going to pull up some video here. It's not because that Mind's Eye was a mess of a game where the entire thing was super buggy. Is still super buggy even after all these updates. Like, these guys claimed it to be a Grand Theft Auto competitor, and it was a mess. It was wanted to be one of the if not the worst game of 2025. Yeah, I agree. I think this is insane levels of cope from a co-CEO saying that a company is willingly paying millions of dollars to go sabotage your title. I mean, I think the game speaks for itself. Like I haven't played Mind's Eye, but it's just this is the game. I can't believe we're at this point that when the game is I am crying. These are some ridiculous bugs happen. This is honestly makes me want to play the game. This is pure gold right here. Yeah, I agree. I can't believe we're at this point, but we are. Do you have anything else to say about the co-CEO alleging that there's a smear campaign?
It's the only thing I'll say, and this is the way I live my life. Own up to your shortfalls in life. You know, nobody's out there doing it. You either didn't have the right people behind it, you didn't test it properly, you didn't do, alphas and betas. There's got to be a reason why. So stop blaming it on everybody else and just shoulder the blame.
I do want to put one thing in here that the article mentions that I do think is very messed up. That they are tracking employees now. The meeting then moved to Gerhardt explaining why Build a Rocket Boy had recently rolled out an enhanced cybersecurity software to employees without their knowledge. Insider Gaming understands that this software is called Terramind, and according to one source, was rolled out to employees' PCs without their knowledge. This software is an employee monitoring and cybersecurity platform that tracks user activity, including keystrokes and screen behavior, in an attempt to track insider threats. This is delusion. Like, this is going so far that does not need to happen. Like, tracking your employees because you think the employees who are willingly working for you and want to create a game because they genuinely love to is sabotaging their work. It's insane. It is the most insane thing that I've heard.
Well, I've been in business for over 40 years, and what that means to me when I hear statements is there's a guy that's going to lose his job or his shirt or the company, and he's looking for every excuse under the sun instead of looking at himself. That's what that sounds like to me. When you start getting that ridiculous and pointing the fingers, it's because you're desperate.
Yeah. And the other situation that I do want to bring in, this is going to get very dark. I'm not going to elaborate too much, but this also comes out of the same thing that happened with Build a Rocket Boy, that the ex-Rockstar North president, Leslie Benzies, who is the CEO of Build a Rocket Boy, is accused of SA in the Epstein files. In a shocking allegation uncovered in a recent publication of further Epstein files, former Rockstar North president and founder of Build a Rocket Boy, Leslie Benzies, has been accused of SA. Further, it was then claimed that Sam Houser, the current president of Rockstar, was at least aware of the situation. The claims come from Sarah Ransom, a recognized victim in the files. And it was, so yeah, there's a whole bunch here, but it seems like Build a Rocket Boy is not in a good state, and there's a lot of terrible, terrible things happening. And these allegations are terrible, terrible, and is disgusting. So.
Well, here's the thing with that, though. If it's anybody from Rockstar, I don't think it's going to impede the sales of their game.
But I'm saying that this is an ex-Rockstar person. This is Build a Rocket Boy who makes Mind's Eye, the people who think they're getting sabotaged. So.
Correct, but I'm saying yeah, I agree with that. I'm saying, though, if you tie anything back to Rockstar, it's not going to hurt them.
No, but it's just it's a shitty situation all around.
It's disgusting.
Moving on, for Overwatch fans out there, Overwatch fans are going to be getting a nice little treat. This comes from Tyler Culp at PC Gamer. Overwatch 2 drops to 2 and goes back to being Overwatch as Blizzard launches its biggest update ever next week. We want to gain players' confidence. We want them to have trust in the game. Dropping to 2, making it a 1 again. I don't know. The article says the last thing I expected Blizzard to do is change the name of Overwatch 2 back to just Overwatch 4 years after Overwatch 2 came out. But as announced during the recent Spotlight video, that is exactly what Blizzard's doing. Most of the sequel's life has been about earning that too, so why change it now? The reason, as Blizzard explained to PC Gamer and other press attending at an event at its offices in Irvine last week, is all about the development team's confidence in Overwatch's future. Starting next week, Overwatch is going to look a lot different, literally with a new UI, 5 new heroes, and the kickoff of a whole new storyline. Its 21st season, coming February 10th, will instead be known as Season 1 of The Reign of Talon, a year-long narrative that will be told through in-game events, cinematics, short stories, and comics. It's a season that game director Aaron Keller calls the biggest launch we've ever had in Overwatch's history. To communicate how much of a shakeup this new era of Overwatch will be, the two had to go. Franchise general manager, head of live service and mobile games, Walter Kong, said, "Sometimes that we talked about internally at the team as a stretch goal that we wanted to hit was something that we described as a return to form. And it really is confidence that we could achieve that made it such that we felt good about changing from Overwatch 2 to Overwatch." Now, it's actually not up to me or anyone here to decide whether we've achieved that or not, but that was really our internal goal, to feel like we could position this game and present it as the best version of Overwatch that has ever been, and that's our goal. You should never call it Overwatch 2 in the first place.
Here you go. Everybody that's watching, look into your camera right now. You are not playing Overwatch 2.
There you go.
These are not the droids you're looking for.
Yeah.
What the hell's they doing? What are they doing with that? That's just absolutely ridiculous.
But, the jokes aside, Cherry Tomato Boy says you should stream Overwatch with Kevin.
I can't stand Overwatch.
Yeah, he's not a hero shooter type person.
Yeah.
I got into Overwatch big during the pandemic. But for the Overwatch fans out there, I think it is important to note that this is, jokes being aside, 2 being gone. And I think the funny thing is the amount of content that they're putting into this game is more Overwatch 2 than what Overwatch 2 initially was. All that being said, there's a lot of content coming here. I think the 5 new heroes immediately starting this upcoming week is pretty huge. I think the new maps, new competitive, new events, stadiums, etc. I think this is a lot to bring people back to Overwatch if they fell off of it. I think Blizzard is listening to the community. They've taken a lot of feedback from Overwatch 2, because I know Overwatch 2 has been in a pretty rough state for the last few seasons. But I used to play Overwatch. I think this is enough for me to go back and at least check it out. I think it's exciting to see what they're cooking up. And I think, Overwatch was the hero shooter. So going back to a game that is so structurally sound, I think will be fun. So I think, Overwatch fans, you're going to be eating. You're going to have a lot of content to look forward to and so on. And don't get confused if you launch Overwatch 1, because you're not launching Overwatch 2 anymore. You're going back to Overwatch 1. But yeah, I do think it's funny. Also, they're having a Hello Kitty event in Overwatch, which is going to be very fun to see, because Hello Kitty is, people don't realize, one of the biggest IPs. Like, I think it's number 2 or number 3 of like most money made for an IP. I know Pokemon's number 1, but Hello Kitty is like top 3. So people don't realize how big that franchise really is. But it being an Overwatch, someone's going to eat it up. But yeah, I'm excited. I know you're not going to probably check this out at all, but
no. They're gonna Men in Black your ass. Look at the tip of this. You're no more Overwatch 2.
Yeah, that's the opening cinematic. They flash you.
Correct.
All right, back to AI. Sony patents AI generated podcasts voiced by characters from its games. This comes from Chris Scullion at Video Games Chronicle. This patent, which was applied for in July 2024 and granted in late January 2026, is titled LLM-based generative podcasts for gamers. Video game platforms currently lack the ability to provide unique and targeted content to gamers to update the gamers about things that are happening on the platform, the patent claims. There are currently no adequate solutions to the foregoing computer-related technological problem. Isn't there a gaming podcast that do this exact thing? Either way. The solution proposed by the patent is to generate a podcast of news related to the data, with the podcast presenting the news in a voice of a video game character, the video game played by the video game player.
My voice.
You're going to get on your PlayStation and it's going to be delusional. You're going to hear Kratos go, "Boy, Xbox is dead for the 10th time, boy." Yeah. It's a description. It depicts a scenario where the player starts up their console and are shown a message on the home screen informing them your personalized podcast is available for today. Rather than a pre-recorded podcast made available to all users, the podcast in this example are all individual to each user based on what they've played, and may even star characters from the games they've been playing. It could even lead to potential crossover situations, with the patent describing character from one game potentially having dialogue with a character from a different game. You're going to see Kratos and Master Chief just going, Master Chief's going to be like, "Cortana, tell me the news." And Kratos goes, "Cortana, I don't know.
And it's going to say, Kevin, you died 55 times in Silent Hill 2 Remake. Ghost of Yote took you longer than any other gamer to get through it. You know?
As the patent describes it, the console will put data from various elements, including recent gameplay, friends lists, and other console level events. I can't wait for this podcast to be like, in the chat, I'll just pull Cherry Tomato Boy because it's the first one I see. Cherry Tomato Boy 20 has been playing X amount of hentai for the last 20 hours. Would you like to see this game? Either ways, that's pretty much the gist of this whole thing with this new podcast, LLM. I think this is ridiculous. Like, once again, we're getting into the levels of the stupidity with AI. Like, who is realistic? Who's asking for this?
Everybody's making an LLM now. Everybody is.
Bombay gives eye emojis. And Bombay says, okay, going too far. AI is going to be outing all of you who are playing those games. You know who you are. Either ways. I think no one's asking for this. If you are so desperate for a gaming podcast, I'm pretty sure you're already listening to gaming podcasts, whether it be this one or be hundreds of thousands of other ones on the internet, like that you align with like their views and how they view video games. Like, I don't think you're going to need an AI Kratos talking to an AI Nathan Drake about what is happening in the PlayStation world. I think this is such a ridiculous concept.
But then again, I drove around with my my navigation as Master Chief, so
yeah, but that's a whole like different thing. Like, it's not generating a podcast for you. Like, I don't know. I just think we're getting into this like levels of delusion with AI where this doesn't help anyone. This is just adding more to the overall problem with the Ramageddon. Cherry Tomato Boy 20 says, can't wait for AI Kevin to rage bait me. Yeah, we're actually going to start implementing AI Kevin in here just to target.
We're working on that on the back end.
Yeah,
rolling it out mid 2026.
Yeah, that's the new thing. He's just going to be a VTuber from here on out. But yeah, I don't know. I just think this keeps adding to the overall problem that we're seeing, that everyone is going into AI, and it's just so many things that are not useful at all. And Bombay says, yes, this is exactly why RAM is a grand. Is $4,000 again. So like, yeah, like it's just not needed. This is just going to keep jacking up the cost of things. Like, if you're going to use AI, make it useful. Like, there are so many ways that AI can be useful. This is not one of them. Like, no one is asking for this. So I don't know. But more Sony patent news. This is our last news story for today. This comes from Video Cards and is written by Ycry. Sony patent describes a touchscreen PlayStation controller with movable buttons. Let me pull this up because I feel like a visual of this is going to be pretty necessary.
This is crazy.
So Sony Interactive Entertainment has been granted a U.S. patent for a game controller concept built around a touchscreen input surface. Video Games Chronicle spotted this filing and published images from the patent documentation. Hang on, I'm pulling it up right now for people to see. So this is what it looks like. The drawings show a controller where most of the top face is a touchscreen instead of fixed buttons. On-screen controls can be placed where a user wants, including moving the D-pad, analog stick zones, and action buttons. The concept also allows resizing controls or removing unused inputs for a given game. The patent describes the goal as comfort and accessibility with layouts that fit different hand sizes. A user could invert the layout and put a D-pad on the right side. A simple game could use fewer inputs with larger on-screen buttons to reduce mispresses. Bombay says in the chat, I do not like that controller at all. The filing describes an input service that can interpret gestures such as touch, tap, swipe, press, pinch, and joystick style movement. I think there's more to this patent, but I think we get the idea. I mean, when you sent me this, I said it's your iPhone if it was a controller, because this like is how an iPhone realistically works with their on-screen controls, especially if you've ever checked out like Death Stranding or Resident Evil 4 remake on it without the controller handles. Yeah, I mean, I think I kind of agree with Bombay. I don't like this idea of the controller. One, ergonomically, it just doesn't look that great. I think it has like this weird boomerang to it. Like it reminds me of, oh God, let me see if I can remember.
The
Remember those, like, Well, no, remember like those old Xbox 720 like controller mock-ups where it was like this futuristic boomerang? Let me
Well,
find it.
no, that was the PlayStation. The PlayStation was the boomerang.
Yeah.
It looked like a big, like a hooked banana. But the reality is pick up your phone right now and just try to use it like a thumbstick. And now imagine getting a little sweaty in a game. It's just it won't glide the way that you need it to glide. Yeah, see, that was the Sony.
Yeah. It reminds me of this as making a comeback. Bombay says, and I do agree with Bombay here, good for accessibility, but they like physical buttons, which I agree. I also like physical buttons, but that is a good point. This is great for an accessibility feature. It's very similar to how the adaptive controller works, but the adaptive controller from Xbox has physical buttons. So we can see, but yeah, I think this definitely helps that. It's interesting. I don't know if this is going to be what the PS6 controller is going to be. I don't think, maybe this will be some like experimental weird controller that comes out of nowhere that they sell for however much money. But yeah, I don't know. Do you think you're going to buy this if this thing comes to fruition? Because patents happen all the time. Just because a patent happens, I just want to say, just because a patent happens doesn't mean this thing is coming out. Like, these are just ideas that they have that they just go through the patent process.
I think I would buy it to store it, not to play with it, to collect it. Like, I would buy it to collect it. But I do agree too with Bombay that the accessibility would be good, because Kobe and I actually toyed with doing a podcast on accessibility stuff for gaming, because it's growing, whether it be something as simple as, you know, the color blindness, which I use a lot in gaming, all the way up to the controllers and stuff. So we've actually toyed with that, and that would be, if they were doing it for accessibility, I'd 100% be behind that.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think I would ever make this my main device to use to game, unless if like the haptic feedbacks are truly crazy, where it does feel like I'm pressing a physical button. Because like even like the iPhone's haptics get really crazy, and like if anyone's ever used a MacBook, the trackpad itself, the haptics on that are really nice, and it does, even though you're not physically clicking in something, it does feel like you're physically clicking something.
But see, before you get on to there, that's what I said though. It's not the haptic. Just try to use your phone like you would a thumbstick. It doesn't glide right. And if you're in a sweaty game, there's no way you're going to be able to do that.
Cherry Tomato Boy says, I feel like they're trying to get ahead of the iPad baby generation. They're so used to interacting with screens.
I agree there. That's a great statement.
And Bombay says, I guess it'd be cool if you can make like a slider bar and have it be like a train controller to do throttle or something.
Yeah, I could see that.
I think there's multiple ways of looking at it. I do agree with Cherry as well that like, yeah, it does feel like the iPad baby generation coming up, because so many of them are used to touchscreen controls. And I think us in this room, the people who are, I don't think we really think about that, because like I wasn't an iPad baby. Like I played my DS a lot of the times. Like, yeah, I got the iPhone and did that, but like so many of these people are playing like Fortnite on their iPads, and they're using the touchscreen control. So I do really think that is a good call out, that this will bridge the gap for people. Bombay says less screen controller, more chainsaw controllers. Yeah,
boy.
There you go. There you go.
I have my chainsaw on the side there. You can't see it, but I got my Resident Evil chainsaw PlayStation.
We need more weird controllers, man. Bring back weird controllers.
But I agree.
Do you have anything else to say about this?
I don't. I just think that I'm glad. This is why we have these conversations. This is what Kobe and I do personally all the time, and that's why we brought it to our podcast, because my knee-jerk reaction about that controller was, how ridiculous is this? And then hearing your comments, now you make me look at it in a different light. Accessibility or the iPad generation, 100% agree, where I see that it's a good idea at this point. But I would buy it to collect it.
Yeah. So that being said, that's it for today. Next week, we're not on, but we might be on. Apparently, there's a PlayStation State of Play happening next week. I keep hearing rumors about that. So stay tuned to our communications, which, how can you do that? Let me tell you. You can follow us on all of our socials right here. As always, we're on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Blue Sky, and Spotify. We're at Active Reload Gaming. Twitch or Twitter/X, we're at ActiveRel. That is with an REL, ActiveRel Gaming. Another brilliant way and really easy way to keep touch with us is the Discord in the top left corner. You can scan that, hop in and start chatting with us and so on. So feel free, hop in, chat with us, join the community that we are trying to build with each and every one of you. That being said, this was the Father and Son Gaming News. I see you revving up. What do you want to say?
Yes. My big thing is always tune in. We're not on next Friday possibly, but we are on every single Monday. So again, I thank everybody that's tuning in today. Make sure you tune in on Mondays for our normal podcast.
Yes, and also stay tuned for game streams that we will do throughout the week. I think we have a couple things planned in the upcoming week, so we'll see what is happening and so on. So with that, have a great weekend to American football fans. Happy Super Bowl Sunday. Seahawks, go Hawks, are going to be facing off against the Patriots. East Coast, I think it's 6:30 kickoff. Here in the Pacific, it's 3:30 kickoff. So to the football fans, have fun. Have a good Super Bowl party. If you are hosting or if you're going out, have fun. Be safe. Enjoy some food. Enjoy the time and drinks. And with that, have a great weekend, and we will catch you all next time. See you guys later.